Welcome to Proven and Probable. I'm Maurice Jackson. Throughout his 40 years of exploration experience, today's guest has discovered some of the highest grade uranium deposits in the world. Joining us for a conversation is Raymond Ashley, the president and director of F3 Uranium Corp, which is a project generator and property bank. Mr. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Maurice. Glad to be here.
Well, it's an honor to have you on the program, sir. Mr. Ashley, your pedigree is that of legend in the uranium sector. I know you're a modest person, but for our audience members that may not be familiar with your accomplishments, would you please introduce yourself and share some of the highlights of your exploration career with us?
Well, you're very kind to put it that way, Maurice. Look, I'm one of those lucky people that found my calling, found my passion when I was in grade 12. I took a geology course in college and I knew right away that's what I wanted to do in my life. That's why I've been working in this mineral exploration for more than 40 years. So I worked at first in the Canadian Arctic for gold exploration. I was involved with the exciting discovery of Canada's first large commercial diamond mine. And I saw an interesting fact recently that mine started production in 1998, and $46 billion of diamonds it sparked Canada's diamond industry. And since that time, $46 billion of diamonds have been mined. And that's an amazing thing, really.
Well, I hate to cut you off. That's quite an impressive feat.
Yeah, well, isn't it? It was a surprising number to me. But then, after that, in 2008, I became involved in uranium exploration in the Athabasca Basin with the first Fission company. And interestingly, some of those explorers that were there in the diamond exploration also came and were working with me and still work today with us as a part of the exploration team that we put together. But yeah. So in 2008, I started working in uranium exploration in the Athabasca. Since that time, we've made 3 uranium discoveries, so I'm very lucky to work. It's always about a team, Maurice. It's not one person. It was an amazing team for the diamond discovery, and it's conscientious and dedicated. It's often about the details, and it's a team of people working together. It's not one person. It's always a team. Drillers, the people dealing with the core, it's doing everything properly, and everyone working together. So yeah, I'm a really lucky person to work with passionate, dedicated people and to have made 3 discoveries already.
Well, you didn't let me down when I shared that you are modest. And by the way, luck is defined when opportunity and preparedness meet one another. And so you've been in the right place at the right time. And you've been prepared.
That's right. I agree with you.
Well, you have quite the resume, sir. When you look at the current state of uranium, what are some of the supply and demand fundamentals right now that have your attention?
Well, yeah, look, about 2 years ago, the world started moving more and more towards the nuclear power as a carbon-free way to generate baseload power. I think it was early at the beginning of this month, there was the World Nuclear Market in Atlanta, Georgia, had their 50th fuel market meeting in Atlanta, Georgia. And I heard that it was more attendance than ever before in their history, and that the mood there by developers and explorers and a lot of the industry is represented there, is that the current sector, the mood in our uranium sector right now is very positive and included on where it's headed. So yeah, the sentiment continues to be very positive.
Oh, that's encouraging to hear for anyone that's in this space. Now, uranium in some circles, though, has a negative connotation. When comparing clean energy alternatives, how does uranium compare to solar and wind?
Oh, look, solar and wind, renewables are fantastic. The problem with them is to have baseload power when there's no sun or when there's cloud cover and when the wind's not blowing. And so that requires reliable baseload power. And really, the world is moving more and more towards the realization that nuclear power is the best answer today in terms of not creating greenhouse gas. So it's carbon-free and reliable baseload power, yes, which supplements renewables. but really there needs to be something supplementing, generating that reliable base load power, and nuclear seems to be really the answer today. Like I heard an interesting number. The demand for uranium last year was 170 million pounds, I think it is, and by 2040, that demand is expected to double. And so really that's the growth in the industry, that it's about the nuclear reactors that are on order and being built, but it's also about small modular reactors. It isn't clear how that'll go, but there is expected to be demand from those. Data centers are now requiring more and more power. They too need it to be reliable, and I understand too that data centers are setting themselves up now in the U.S. near nuclear reactors. One of those reasons is because they require so much power and because it's reliable baseload power. But then the other thing is that nuclear power may be also used to generate hydrogen. So yeah, the demand is there, and it's a great time to be in this sector as an exploration company. The uranium sector is hot, and it continues to be.
Well, speaking of that, currently you serve as the president and director of F3 Uranium Corp, which is a project generator loaded with highly prospective generative projects. Please introduce us to F3 Uranium and the exciting opportunity your company presents to the market.
Yeah, look, like I said, all the uranium exploration companies are doing well right now. It's all linked to this. The spot price has been going up steadily. The difference with F3 is that we've made a beautiful high-grade uranium discovery. That really, it's shallow, it's wide, it's a 15-meter wide zone, this JR zone we call it. It's got an ultra high-grade core. It's being characterized as one of the most exciting high-grade uranium discoveries being drilled today. We discovered that at the end of 2022. That's the difference. Our market cap in 2022, we went back to exploring. We raised, I think we spent 12.8 million in flow through that year. We drilled on 5 of F3's 20 projects. At the end of the year is when we made the discovery at the PLN project, and that's the JR zone discovery. And our market cap went from 20 million to basically 200 million because of that discovery. So that's the difference. Now the question that our shareholders and we're trying to answer is, we think we defined or almost defined the first lens. Often these uranium deposits, high-grade uranium deposits in the Athabasca occur, what they say is as pearls on a string. So several zones that are separate and distinct high-grade uranium mineralized zones. And there's often many of them. In the case of Triple R, for example, to the southwest, where the feasibility study's been completed, there's 5 of them there over 3.3 kilometers. So we found a beautiful high-grade zone. The question is how much uranium in total is there at PLN. And we are actively drilling right now. We have been really focused on finding a new zone. The next zone or zones for the winter we started. And this summer, that's what we're aggressively doing, is trying to find the next zone. That's the next step change in the market cap of our company, is that we would discover another zone of mineralization.
I referenced project generator. There's a lot of ambiguity regarding the business model, which actually is an excellent way for speculators to de-risk their portfolio and have exposure to royalties along with optionality. What exactly is a project generator, and why should someone in the audience own them in their natural resource portfolio?
Okay, so why is F3 a project generator? Well, let's go back. The first fission company, it had properties on the east side of the basin, and we made that discovery of what was called the J zone in 2000. I started as VP exploration in 2008. In 2010, we made the J zone discovery. We expanded and grew it. And by 2012, we had sold that to Denison and the properties on the east side for 85 million. And right when that sale happened in 2012, we kept properties on the west side, and we rolled those into the second fission company called Fission Uranium. And it was the same management and the same technical team. So right when the sale happened to Lucas Lundin with Denison of the first fission, we made the discovery of the second high-grade deposit, which is Triple R. Triple R just completed a feasibility study. I was the VP exploration there for 10 years until I got too busy with this new discovery, F3's new discovery. But what happened is that once Triple R was discovered by Fission Uranium, it had other exploration properties too. That's a project generator. What we do as a team and what we've done since the start is research all of the available properties and all the assessment work that's been done, mine the public data, and acquire properties by staking. And we did that when uranium was out of favor. So when it was possible to acquire ground, we've been at this even in times when uranium was when it was difficult to raise money in uranium exploration. We stuck with it. So we acquired a lot of properties and decided that Fission Uranium would keep the main asset in the company and spin out everything else into the third fission. That's F3. So we've held a lot of those properties since 2014, 2015. We keep acquiring new ones. That's how we ended up with 20 properties. Now that we've made this new so that's project generator. What happens? Right now, there are 3 option agreements that have been signed on 3 of those properties where other companies are earning interests in in 3 of the properties. And, for example, we made an announcement very recently of signing a definitive agreement with Camp on our Murphy Lake property. The terms are very favorable. 1.4 million in cash over 3 years. They're going to spend $18 million over 3 years on exploration, and we'll end up with 10% of their shares. So the beauty there is, and what's unusual, there is that the F3 is operating. Usually when a company earns in, they're spending their money until they've earned their interest, and they want to decide what gets done, what the program consists of, and they want to operate. It's their money. In this case, they've elected for us to manage, to be the operator of even during their earning. I think that's just a testament of how lucky I am. And it's an endorsement of this technical team, that's been so successful. So that's what constitutes a project generator. We've staked and acquired all these properties, and then we sign option agreements for people to advance them without diluting our shareholders to get our share price up. So, what stands to happen? A 10-banger. And we've worked as a team on these properties since 2014, so we know a lot about them. A lot of work's been done on them, a lot of the airborne and ground geophysics that generates the drill targets. So really, that's what stands to happen. Another discovery. We haven't been able, rightfully so, to work and advance those other projects since our new discovery at PLN. We've needed to be focused on that new discovery and growing it and finding out how many zones really make it up, and whether there's an unconformity component, and how many zones there are, find them all, and to advance those other projects. So that's something that we're working towards.
Well, I'm going to speak, if I may, on the behalf of Rick Rule. It's his favorite business model in the natural resource space, where he's had the most success, and also including within uranium as well. But what I like here as well, equally, is that the business and geological acumen here for shareholders, if you're not aware, in the simplest terms possible, F3 is able to bring in a partner to de-risk a property with their capital. That company then, if they like what they see, they'll buy the asset. Then we also retain a royalty as a shareholder. And the beautiful aspect about this, and as you referenced earlier, that the uranium price looks, and we're not here to get price predictions, but it looks like it's going to continue on its trajectory of going higher. You have an embedded optionality there with commodity price going up. So that royalty becomes even more lucrative. And all you're doing here as a shareholder of F3 is that you're just smiling because there's no cost to you. And also you also have to look at some of the other benefits when we say optionality. Mining technologies get improved. Usually when you're looking at a deposit, at first you think it's this big, come to find out, well, we found some more. That's all free. It's all icing on the cake. Eat as many calories as you want.
Yeah, well, there you go. Exactly. Exactly. The experienced team is advancing the work. Okay. Yes. And I mean, you said it really well. And the company doesn't need to dilute itself to advance all that, and retains in the end, like the option agreements we sign the incoming party sole funds exploration for 3 years and ends up with a 70% interest. So there, as well as a net smelter royalty that we would retain. So yeah, in the end, should a deposit or something significant be discovered while they're earning in, the company would retain a 30% interest.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal business opportunity, business model, if you will. Well, let's go on site. Now, you somewhat alluded to it, but Mr. Ashley, take us into the prolific Athabasca Basin and on to the Patterson Lake North, and walk us through your project portfolio and some of the recent high-grade discoveries your team has identified, which may be a potential game changer for the company given the current and future of the uranium sector.
So this is all about what have we done since we made this discovery in November 2022. And since then, we've expanded and infilled that zone, the first mineralized lens. We have it now to a strike length of 156 meters. We really think that first zone is almost defined. There's 4 or 5 more holes that we want to drill in the middle of the zone, really because it has this, as I said, it's a 15-meter wide zone with an ultra high grade core, and roughly 15 meters of 7% uranium with a 2 to 5 meter wide core, ultra high grade core in the middle of it with something like 20% uranium. So a lot of the pounds in that lens will come from this high grade core. And so we've looked at that carefully. And while we think we've found the extent of it along strike and up and down dip, we need to drill 4 or 5 holes in the middle to make sure that there's continuity on that ultra high grade core. So which will complete that work this summer. And then we believe that we have enough data, all the data we need, to carry out a maiden resource estimate on that first zone. But what we're really focused on today is the 5-kilometer long A1 and B1 shear zones, where we're actively and aggressively exploring with 2 diamond drills to try and find the next zone. And in the winter, we had a big exploration program in the winter, largely focused on exploring along down south to the southeast of JR. And we found some very significant things. One of the main ones was a very large scale reverse fault that we thought is either related to the Harrison Fault or the Harrison Fault itself. And what it does is it cross cuts the A1 and B1 shear zones, which often where these pods of uranium are located is where there are cross-cutting faults. And this is a very large-scale feature where there's the basement rocks have been thrust by reverse faulting up into the sandstone, and there's more than 100 meters of displacement. That structural setting reminds us of one of the biggest uranium deposits in the Athabasca. There's high priority targets are where our mineralized shear zone would intersect this wedge, basement wedge. We started drilling there this summer, and really we've confirmed that we've confirmed a few things. One is that the A1 shear zone actually bifurcates and it becomes 2 shear zones really. So down near that wedge, there's all the good signs that we're near high-grade mineralization. We're near another zone. Hole 152 that we drilled not long ago was the best looking drill hole outside of the JR zone that we've drilled so far. It's right there in that wedge. It intersected. So that's where we discovered that the A1 shear zone became 2 shear zones. And where the drill core that intersected those 2 shear zones was also anomalous, had anomalous radioactivity. So it's sniffs of uranium and anomalous radioactivity, large scale structural features, and all the deformation and alteration that really has us thinking. We've been saying it for a while, but it keeps looking more and more like that we're very close to another zone of high grade. The geologists are totally excited. I'm on the edge of my seat with every hole, because that's what we are. That's the aim, is to find the high grade that's there, and we really do see the signs that we're close. So the other thing that's happened is we're just finishing a large ground gravity survey. That is to start looking at trends that are structures that are parallel, shear zones that are parallel to A1 and B1, which are northwest trending. Our discovery in that southwest corner of the basin, that's where the Triple R and next gen, fission uranium and next gen, that's going to be the area of the next development of high grade uranium deposits in the Athabasca. Our discovery is 25 kilometers from there. So we're close to where that infrastructure will be. What we're trying to do is, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Well, if I may interject here, folks, when the person responsible for discovering some of the highest grade uranium deposits in the world, when he gets excited, and I've noticed your body language here, your body language has picked up a lot here. So when the body language picks up, decode the message. There's something exciting here. And I'm excited as a shareholder. I've been a shareholder of when actually it was called Fission 3.0, but I've been a shareholder for years. And actually, when you referenced the Triple R deposit, what I regret, I was on site back in July 2016. I was hoping to meet you there, and we missed one another. You didn't know that, but I just wanted to share that here online, since we're interviewing here together right now. But may I go back to a couple of statements you made here just a second ago?
Well, can you give me 1 second?
Sure,
I know what I was trying to tell you. If I can just finish that. It's that we've shown with our discovery now that there's high-grade uranium on northwest trending structures. So this gravity survey is aimed for us to look at regional targets on this very big property. The PLN project is 106,000 acres, which is a really big property for that part of the basin. So airborne survey we flew last summer is showing us that there are several parallel structures to A1, B1, and this geophysics that we're doing is aiming to generate regional exploration targets that we're going to get to, I would suspect next winter, because really we're very focused on this big basement wedge and where our A1 and B1 shear zones intersected. I think that's largely where we'll be focused mostly this summer, but we will get to these other regional targets. So the whole property has a lot of potential, not just the main shear zone where we found our first lens. That's what I was trying to get at.
No worries. Can we go back to a couple of statements here? Number one, you referenced the inaugural mineral resource estimate. When should we expect that? This year or next year?
Well, look, we realize that we need this 4 or 5 more holes. They'll be drilled this summer. So look, it's an independent maiden resource estimate. It has to be done by an independent party. My guess is that, the soonest we could do it would be sometime in 2025, later in 2025, because we won't have all the data to commence it till the end of the summer. But, it also is about what's the best timing for that. For example, if we were to intersect another zone of mineralization, it might make more sense to define the next zone before putting out a resource estimate. So it'll be about timing. We want to have all the data to be ready to do that resource estimate when the timing is right. But yeah, the earliest would be sometime in 2025.
You referenced 7% for someone that's new to uranium. Just how important is 7% as far as grade? When you look at global results, deposits, I should say, I'm sorry, what are their average grades? And then that puts this 7% into a whole new light, I think.
Yeah, well, look, that's the thing with the Athabasca Basin. That's why it's the address to go and discover uranium deposit. It's because the average grades of, something like 2% average grade, there's high, of everything that's mined is some 20 times higher than anywhere else in the world. And really, what that really results in is lower mining costs. The cost per pound is, because it's so high grade, is lower, and so it means the margins are phenomenal. And that's and there can be difficult engineering problems. Nothing's always straightforward, but when the margins are so high, the project can overcome those things. So that's really what it's about: grade, phenomenal grade. But what that also leads to is the deposits are very small. Because they're so high grade, it makes them even harder to find, because it also nothing is exposed. They're all at the bottom of the sandstone or in the basement, so they're covered. And the sandstone itself is covered by glacial till and overburden. So everything is blind. And that's why geophysics is a key to targeting the drill and to, defining and discovering these discoveries. These deposits, they're really hard to find, but they're very valuable.
All right. Well, you reference a lot of work that's going to be happening during the summer. What can we expect in terms of news flow from the company?
Yeah. Okay. Look, we put out the first assays from our winter program that included another really, normal intersection for us, high grade intersection through the middle of the JR zone. What's coming is outstanding assays from the winter program and from our drilling at B1. I think there's 14 outstanding holes, assays from 14 of those holes, including 6 at B1. At B1, we haven't found any high grade yet, but there was a very strongly anomalous uranium, 0.02%, 0.22% uranium in hole 121. That's significant. And we get all the geochemistry. So that those assays help to guide us and vector us in. But that's some of the news will be those outstanding assays. The drill program is ongoing, and production is very good this summer. The drillers and the crew and the team have worked out to overcome the technical difficulties. So we're getting a lot of production. So there'll be ongoing news that are sent results. That's the beauty. We know what we've intersected before we get assays because of handheld scintillometer and borehole radiometric surveys. So we know. It guides us. So there'll be news releases updating our ongoing program, as well as geophysics I mentioned. We've also done an inversion of, we've really got the best geophysics, and we're lucky to be well funded and to have made this discovery. So we've collected the right kinds of data, and we're working with really, the key and very competent geophysical consultants. So we've inverted resistivity and EM data together, which takes supercomputers, and it's a new thing, and that is generating new targets for us. Along with this gravity results, we'll be following that up. We're likely to update the market on all of that geophysics and the regional targets that those have generated. Then the other thing will be the spin out of F4, which is that's going to happen. It's because we've been focused on F3 has been focused on, as it should be, on the PLN project, but we're not getting any value from all of those other 17 properties. The PLN project is 3 properties, so it's 17 more, and we're spinning out F4 to be able to move those projects forward and surface the value that we're not getting in F3 right now for all those other properties. And so F4 is going to independently be funded and allow those properties to move forward. And there'll be news there. There's the 2 of those properties have option agreements where there will be drilling on those 2 properties this summer as well. It's the same technical team. I will continue to be focused mostly on F3 and the PLN project. There'll be a new president for F4, but we were excited as a team because we've worked on these properties for so long to continue to move those forward as well, and that's going to be part of the news flow also.
Well, you talk about embedded optionality again. In reference to F4, it sounds to me that it will be another project generator. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And in saying so, what is the benefit now? If you're not a shareholder of F3, what's the benefit of being a shareholder now before the spin out of F4?
Yeah. Okay, that's a good question. Look, the plan is for F3 shareholders will get a free share of F4 for every share of F3 they have. There'll be a cutoff date. We expect that spin out to be completed in August. It was delayed because of a tax season, and the financials took longer than we had hoped because the auditors and tax accountants were caught up with year end. Now that's all been completed. The information circular is being completed. So we're on track to complete the spin out. It's a plan of arrangement between F3 and F4. Complete that spin out in August. So F3 shareholders, after that cutoff date, we'll get a free share of F4, and then we'll roll that back 10 to 1. So yeah, then after that, the F4 will independently finance itself. There'll be a strategic round. We anticipate for F3 to participate in that strategic round, and then there'll be a public round. And we don't know exactly the numbers, but really, we won't have to, F4 won't have to raise a ton of money at the start because of these option agreements that I mentioned. So yeah, so there it is. F3 shareholders get to participate by now spinning out F4. That allows F4 to independently finance itself and to move forward with those other properties. And it gives shareholders the opportunity to stay focused on really what's now brownfields exploration at PLN. We've made a discovery of a high-grade zone. It's about defining what else is there, brownfields. And now we're back to the possibility for a brand new discovery that would be F4, on these properties that we've worked on for coming on 10 years, many of them.
Well, a number of exciting catalysts on the horizon here for F3 and F4 uranium. Leaving the project site again, let's look at some numbers. Mr. Ashley, please share the capital structure for F3 uranium.
Yeah. Look, I think it's 480 million outstanding shares right now. Look, we're very well funded. I think it's 36 million in the treasury. Of that, 11 million is flow through. So the 11 million in flow through will be, that allows us to continue aggressive exploration at PLN, and it'll take us into the fall, and easily and conceivably too. There'll be enough there for drilling to start the winter program at least. We're well funded.
Who are some of the major shareholders? Who are some of the major shareholders?
Well, look, it's held by retail investors, but lately there's more and more funds that are interested in taking positions in our smaller funds. But a lot of the marketing and a lot of the interest is coming from funds. But largely we are held by retail.
Roger that, sir. In closing, what keeps you up at night that we don't know about?
Oh, wow. Really, nothing keeps me up at night, Maurice, except every morning I'm anxious to see I get the daily reports to see if we've hit another zone. No, nothing keeps me up at night, and everything's on track. Logistically, and the program is ticking. We're managing to move forward on a number of fronts, getting these option agreements signed, spinning out F4, which is really exciting to be able to move forward with that in a time when the uranium sector is hot, so that we can finance and move those projects forward. It's about making more discoveries, and these, we have the team to go forward. And, Dev Randhawa, he's been at this for a long time and really well connected, so we're able to be well financed and to move forward. Really, there's nothing that concerns me. It's just how soon are we going to discover that the next uranium? If it's there, we want to find it. And the other thing that happened is Denison made a strategic investment in our company, a $15 million debenture. So that to me was them wanting to get their foot in the door.
Oh, absolutely.
They make no secret of the fact that they're looking for to try and get themselves involved with lenses of uranium, high-grade uranium discoveries in the basin that are at the unconformity or in the sandstone. And that's because their trials at Wheeler have told them that it's possible to mine these things, these lenses, this high-grade mineralization at the unconformity or in the sandstone by ISL. So our first lens is very close to the unconformity, and there could easily be a component of all of our mineralization that is in the sandstone. So I think they were trying to get their foot in the door. When that happened, it's not a surprise that F3 and this new discovery is a conceivable target for a takeover. So when Denison made that move, we did our homework to talk to all of the other possible interested parties. We wanted to make sure that as much as we could to get them open a data room and get them to have access, and Their scientists, geoscientists have access to the data, our data on what we've discovered. That way, if there is a takeover bid, then there stands to be an auction. I think that was our job, and I feel good about how we've managed on that front. In the meantime, we're not hanging out to be taken out. We're moving aggressively forward. The way I like to say it is any uranium that's at PLN that we don't discover, whoever might take over F3 would get it for free. We see all the right signs of intense deformation, alteration, and major structures, reverse structures now that we're close to other zones. We have the team that's done it before and seen, experience to have seen what the rocks look like around in 3 different places now around this high-grade mineralization. So we want to try and find the uranium that's there. That's where we're at.
Yeah, the projected spin out now makes even more sense if there's a potential amalgamation on F3 on the 3 deposits there. So yeah, you referenced connecting the dots. I think I just did there as well.
You said it. You know why? There's obviously some magic. I don't know how that happens with this group of people, right? Deposits are impossible to find, so it's impossible what's happened. It's not just luck. There's some magic about this team. I am so grateful to work with this bunch, okay, for so long. I love what I do, and I'm very grateful to work with them. And to be able to keep that group together, working, doing what they love to do. We're mine finders. We're treasure hunters, and we all click together to keep that team together. There's so much value in that. F4 will ensure that even if the F3 gets bought out. Yes, I'm very happy about that. I want to continue to be a part of it.
Well, last question for you, sir. What did I forget to ask?
What did you forget to ask? I'm not really sure.
Well, I know we've covered a lot here.
I think we've covered it. Yeah, I do think we've covered it. Maurice, your questions got me there, and I really appreciate you having me.
Well, Mr. Ashley, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Wishing you and F3 Uranium the absolute best, sir.
Thank you kindly, Maurice. Take care.
The information presented on Proven and Probable is provided for educational and informational purposes only, without any express or implied warranty of any kind, including warranties of accuracy, completeness, or fitness for any particular purpose. The information is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice, or any other advice. You should not make any financial, investment, or trading decision based on any of the information presented without first undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional broker or competent financial advisor.